Hey friend, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, this is what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps, Larry. No Rules is a 15% bourbon barrel-aged Vietnamese Imperial Porter from Perrin Brewing Company in Comstock Park, Michigan. Believe it or not, this is the first time I'm having a No Rule since the 2018 version when they were still releasing it in stores. Now, big thanks to viewer Brian Kramer for offering this bottle to me. No Rules has taken on a life of its own as a brewery-only release. It sounds like it gets pretty crazy, and with all the circumstances going on this year, if Brian hadn't offered, I probably wouldn't be bringing it to you as a review today. So again, huge thanks to him for offering this bottle to me. Now, I probably wouldn't be too far off if I said that No Rules is Perrin's biggest release of the year, and that's for good reason. Now, I remember in the past it having nice, just rich, spicy notes that set it apart from all the other barrel-aged porters. Not that there are too many barrel-aged porters, but it really set itself as, you know, the standard for that style. So let's take a look at the label and we'll get into a glass. Fun fact, in previous years, you could tell the difference between the vintages by looking at the color of the bowling balls, and this year that still rings true, although the entire label has been redesigned, and we'll take a look at it right now. So on the front, it has John Goodman's character from The Big Lebowski. On the top, it says No Rules. And last year or previous years, it was almost like a painted logo. But this year, it's more of a hand-drawn style. It's more of, you know, it's more of an illustrated version rather than like a painted version. And again, it says No Rules across the top with these starbursts, like bowling alley kind of stars in the background, and the blue bowling ball this year. So it says underneath that, Vietnamese Porter, Imperial Porter aged in oak bourbon barrels, 1 pint, 6 fluid ounces, 15% alcohol by volume. And then to the right of that, it says No Rules was followed through the creation of this product. This 15% Imperial Porter was made with coconut and turbinado sugar, then laid down and aged in bourbon barrels for several months. We hope you enjoy the product as much as we did making it. And then it has all the different states and deposits, 22 fluid ounces, which again is 650 milliliters, and www.perrinbrewing.com, and the hashtag Perrin Brewing. On the other side, it has the government warning, brewed and canned by Perrin Brewing Company, LLC in Comstock Park, Michigan. It's like they watched this video and they knew what to write because I said it. No, it always has that stuff on there. And then underneath that, it has the Perrin Brewing Company seal, the logo, the shield with PBC in it, perrinbrewing.com. And then on the top, it has the bottle cap. It has a Perrin Brewing Company bottle seal on the top, the logo. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and crack this one open. I'm gonna use one of these snifter Belgian style glasses. And I need my handy dandy bottle opener, which doesn't make that many appearances because it seems like really nowadays the only bottles you get are like the Founders Barrel Age series and big bombers like this. Let's go ahead and crack this one open though. Put a nose on the bottle. Oh, I'm getting an aroma straight off the opening on that. Let's go ahead and sniff it though. I gotta give it a sniff and tell you what I think here. Oh, smells really, I get a little bit of a bourbon character in there, a little bit of oaky character. Smells like a nice, rich, almost like a caramel and a chocolate in there at the same time. Maybe a bit of a coconut. Yum, yum, yum. Let's go ahead and pour this. It's actually kind of lighter coming out of the bottle. The stream coming out of the bottle is a little lighter. I can actually see through it, but again, it's not a stout, it's a porter, so it's going to be a little bit lighter. And pouring that, it's a little bit caramel, dark caramel kind of color there. And it's just got a really beautiful smell that comes off on the pour. I've got about 2 fingers of a head here. It's a little bit of a khaki colored head. It's not dark like coffee colored head, but it's kind of like between tan and white, so it's more of like a khaki kind of colored. The head is really nice, compact bubbles, really densely kind of pushed together. Again, about 2 fingers worth of head. I don't know why I keep telling you how many fingers. And holding it up to the light, yeah, that's really dark. It's not seeing through that. All right, so let's get a nose here on the glass. Ooh, nice. I'm getting a bit, almost like a maple kind of aroma. I'm getting a sweet kind of coconut in there as well. It just smells really sweet. Like it smells, getting a bit of a bourbon characteristic, a little bit of a kind of oaky characteristic as well. And one thing I've learned is that the first taste is almost always different than the subsequent taste. So I'm going to taste it. I'm going to talk about my kind of initial impression of it, and then we're going to go back and maybe talk a little bit, and then I'll come back, and it might change up a little bit. So here goes nothing. Cheers. Thanks again, Brian. Wow. As soon as it hit my tongue, I could tell that, yeah, this is pretty good. So the mouthfeel is a little bit on the lighter side. It's not a stout, it's a porter, so it's going to be a little bit thinner than a stout. It's not syrupy, it's not heavy. But really up front, the first thing I got like a spicy cinnamon kind of note in there, and it's a nice, just big vanilla flavor, a bit of a vanilla, that's I already said that, vanilla and coconut come through right off the get-go. Let's get another taste here. Wow, that cinnamon kind of spiciness, maybe a little bit of an allspice kind of, but more cinnamon kind of comes through right on the start. You get it, like a lot of beers like this, you don't get that right at the get-go. You get it more on the swallow, hits the back of your tongue and you get it. But with this one, I got it immediately. So there's this really nice sweetness to it. It's not overpoweringly sweet, but it's on the border of being strong sweetness. The sweetness is in there though, and it just like it tiptoes on the line of almost being too much, but it's like almost like a pastry porter, if there is such a thing. Just really nice cinnamon throughout. It's not overpoweringly spicy, it's not overpoweringly sweet, but there's this vanilla slash coconut just sweetness that's throughout the entire thing, and there's a little bit of a hint of a chocolatey kind of note in there as well. It's like a sweet chocolate, it's not a bitter chocolate, but there's a hint of this like cocoa kind of flavor in there. The bourbon also represents itself, the kind of oakiness. Actually not getting much of a barrel kind of taste out of it, but I'm getting a little bit of a bourbon taste out of it. But that vanilla and the coconut just it's like a blanket. It blankets the bourbon. So the bourbon's in there, but that vanilla, that coconut just kind of wrap itself around there. So it's there, but it's not, it's just really nice and subtle. It's like what you want to taste out of a bourbon barrel-aged beer, at least for me. Like, I'm not a huge bourbon guy. I've come to appreciate bourbon through bourbon barrel-aged beer, but not from drinking bourbon because I don't drink bourbon. But I've come to appreciate bourbon for what it lends to beer, obviously, when you barrel-age it. When you barrel-age the beer, not the bourbon. So it's got that vibe going on, but it also has this, there's no burn to it. It's 15%, that's pretty high, but there's no overpowering bourbon flavor to it. So the bourbon's in there, it's adding to it, it's a characteristic that adds to the beer, but it's not the thing that defines the beer. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's a characteristic, but it's not the defining characteristic. I think the defining characteristic on this beer is that cinnamon note that hits you just up front, which most beers don't do when they're spicy like that, and then the cinnamon follows all the way down from start to finish. You get that cinnamon note, and obviously on the finish it's a lot more pronounced, but again, then it's not overpowering either. It's a strong cinnamon flavor, so I would say that if you're not a cinnamon person, not a cinnamon fan, maybe not a spicy beer fan, this beer might not be for you, but I love cinnamon, so this is really good. I really like that the cinnamon note that's in there, again, just like that bourbon kind of characteristic, that flavor, it's wrapped in that vanilla, that coconut, but the cinnamon starts to like push through on the swallow, and then on the aftertaste, the cinnamon just like goes off the chart, but it's never overpowering. Now, do I think that you'd want to sit and drink multiple of these? I don't think that's probably a good idea being at 15%, but I think that the cinnamon might kind of agitate you over a while, but having it like a sipper, or if you have a bunch of people over and you're tasting it, and you're just doing little tastes, 3-ounce pours, 5-ounce pours, whatever it may be, or even if this is the only beer you're going to drink for the night and you're going to pace it out, it's probably a really enjoyable experience. I don't think I would find myself, if I was, drinking it all night, maybe just little quantities at a time and kind of watching, whatever you can watch on TV. I would say sports, but obviously we're not watching any sports right now. But I think that if you could pace it out, you wouldn't get tired of it. But I think if you were going to sit here and down it, you would be over it and you probably wouldn't want to crack another one open. But yeah, it's a really good. I really miss tasting this beer. I don't know how the last couple years have been. Again, I haven't had it for the last couple of years. The most recent one I had was like 2 years ago, or maybe it's 3 years ago, and that was enjoyable. I really liked it, but I feel like maybe absence has made the heart grow fonder, because I really, really, really enjoy this one. If you can get your hands on this, again, I would do it with a tasting with other people, but if you have a few of your own, you know that it's already really good. But if you know a buddy that has one, maybe you should make some kind of appointment to, I don't know, do some social distancing and sit in their driveway, and maybe, he can give you, or he or she could give you a bottle and they have their own bottle and you just sip it. Hopefully they're neighbors and you won't have to drive. But yeah, I would definitely try to seek this one out if you're interested at all in No Rules. This is a really great beer, really great flavors in there. And again, the bourbon is just a characteristic, but it's not the defining characteristic. And I think that's the really important thing to note about No Rules 2020. All right, friends, that has been No Rules 2020 from Perrin Brewing Company. Have you had this one before? How do you think it compares to previous years? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're down there, if you like beer, you might want to subscribe and click that bell, because I'm here talking about beer twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's all for free for viewers just like you, and you might miss your newest favorite if you're not subscribed and getting those notifications. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries wherever they are, and most importantly, don't forget to treat yourself to a little draft therapy. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Cheers, everybody.